Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Hope you guys are all doing super well. So welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be talking about the passing of 19-year-old Marlen Ochoa. This case was highly requested by you guys. When I uploaded my video on Elizabeth Hassel, I got a lot of comments saying that this case reminded them of Marlen Ochoa. And once I started digging into Marlen's story a little bit more, I was just completely heartbroken and disgusted and just so sad because the world can be just so cruel and gross, and I feel so sorry for Marlen's family. So real quick before we get into the video and we get all serious, I just want to let you guys know that my second challenge for the Ipsy's Next 10 contest is now live. I'm super excited that we made it to the second round, so thank you to everyone that voted for me on round number 1. I appreciate you guys. Los aprecio mucho. Muchas gracias por el apoyo. Honestly, it means so much to me. So round 2 is here and I will need your guys' votes and support again. So just go to Ipsy's page, find my video, and in order for your vote to count, you need to comment the hashtag Ipsy the next 10 Jackie. So make sure you put that hashtag in the comment section of my video on Ipsy's page in order for your vote to count, and make sure you give it a like. Share the video with your friends and family, help a girl out. I really want to win this contest, and, I just appreciate everyone's support so far. Also, if you guys are new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe down below, por favor, so you guys can join the familia. And if you guys want me to cover any other cases in the future, comment down below so I can add it to my list. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Let's just jump right into the case. So Marlen Ochoa was born on November 16th, 1999. Her family was originally from Guerrero, Mexico, and her father, Arnulfo, immigrated to the United States to try to get his family a better life. So he came to the United States first, settled down, found a place where he could bring his family, and then he went back to grab Marlen's mother, Raquel, and they went back together. And they actually had to leave Marlen behind for, I think it was like 5 or 6 months that she was alone. It was too dangerous for Raquel and Marlen to cross together, so she was alone for a bit of time. But once they settled down and found a stable place in Chicago, Illinois to raise their family, they went back and they brought Marlen to Chicago. So Marlen's family describes her as very joyful. She was always laughing. She was that type of person that could find laughter in any situation. They also said she was very amiguera. She had a lot of friends, girlfriends, male friends. She was just like a very social person. So when Marlen arrived to the United States, she really wanted to focus on her studies. She knew that her parents made this big effort to bring her family all the way from Mexico to Chicago, so she wanted to make sure she studied, did good in school, went to college, had a career, and just really made something of herself. So she was really focused at school, and she had dreams of becoming a fashion designer when she was older. So when Marlen was 15, she met a boy by the name of ochoa-lopez, and they instantly fell in love. They were immediately attracted to each other, they began dating, and a few years later, they ended up getting married. A year after Marlen and Giovanni got married, she ended up getting pregnant and they had their first son, Joshua. So even though Marlen was a teenager when she had Joshua, she wanted to continue her studies. She didn't want to just give up on school and, leave that behind, because she was really determined to be a fashion designer and have a good career. So she ended up enrolling herself in school again and was just balancing, going to school, raising a baby. It's difficult. I can't even imagine going to high school and having to, to deal with like taking care of a child. That just seems crazy. But she was determined to make both things work. So 3 years after Joshua was born, Marlen was 19 years old and she fell pregnant again. Her and Giovanni were super excited to have another baby. They were ready to grow their family. Marlen was still in school, so she knew it was going to be a challenge. I mean, already going to school and raising just one kid seems really difficult and just absolutely crazy. So she knew that now that they were going to have 2 kids, things were going to be a bit difficult. So she was getting a little bit worried as to how they were going to raise their 2 kids. So she ended up joining this Facebook group of mothers in her community that would help each other out there. They would give advice to each other as to how to, raise your child this way. So she joined this Facebook group because she wanted to, feel that extra support from other mothers that are also, dealing with the same things that she's dealing with. And she also wanted to see if anybody was giving things away for like a really cheap price or giving things away for free. So in this Facebook group was also 46-year-old Clarisa Figueroa. So I'm going to give you guys a little backstory on who Clarisa Figueroa is. So Clarisa Figueroa was 46 years old at the time and was expecting a baby boy. So Clarisa was already a mother to 25-year-old Desiree Figueroa, and then she also had a 20-year-old son named Xander. I'm not sure if she had more kids besides those, but those are the only two ones that were named. So in 2018, her son Xander was 20 years old and he ended up passing away from natural causes, which completely broke Clarisa's heart. She was super upset about this. So a few months later, in October of 2018, Clarissa told her family that she was expecting a baby. Her daughter Desiree was kind of shocked. She was like, I don't really know how that's possible because you got your tubes tied, so I don't know how you're pregnant and how this is happening. But she didn't really say anything about it. She was kind of just like, oh, okay, I guess I'm having a new sibling. Like, the family was just kind of surprised. So for the rest of 2018, Clarissa was posting all over her Facebook about her new baby. She was posting photos of the ultrasound. She was posting photos of the baby's room and the crib that she had bought. And she was just really excited to have this baby. So on February 5th, 2019, Clarissa joined the same Facebook group that Marlen Ochoa had joined called Help a Sister Out. So on March 5th, 2019, Clarissa posted in that Facebook group asking who was due in May. So Marlene actually replied to that thread because her due date was, I believe, May 5th. So she replied being like, me, like I'm due in May as well. And her and Clarissa kind of started talking throughout that thread. So later on, Marlene made a post on Facebook asking if anyone had some baby clothes that they wanted to sell or get rid of. And Clarissa replied to that post saying that she had some clothes for a boy that she could give away. So Marlene replied to Clarissa and asked her where she was located, and they began talking throughout the Facebook thread. And then Clarissa was like, you know what, just message me privately and we can figure it out together. So Marlene messaged Clarissa and they began talking privately about where they could meet up so that Clarissa could give her the baby clothes for free. So Clarissa told Marlene to meet her at her own house on April 1st, and that's when she would give her the baby clothes. So before April 1st, Clarissa was talking to her 25-year-old daughter, Desiree Figueroa, and was telling her that she needed her help to find a pregnant woman, kill her, and cut her baby out of her so that she and her boyfriend could raise that baby as their own. Like, girl, what are you talking about? First of all, my mother ever came to me and told me she needed that type of help, I would immediately call the police and report her because that's just not normal. Even if it is like a joke of like, oh, like I want to kill someone and, you know, get their baby. That's like not a joke whatsoever. So I have no idea why Desiree didn't call the police or tell someone. So then Desiree told her boyfriend at the time, like, oh, my mom said that she needs my help to find a pregnant woman and kill her and take her baby so that she can raise it as her own with her boyfriend. And Desiree's boyfriend was like, what the heck, why are you telling me this? Like, if I find out that you hurt that girl, I'm going to report you guys to the police. You guys better not do something crazy. I better not find out that you killed someone or that, you know, you're doing something shady because I will report you. So April 1st finally comes around and Marlene drives to Clarissa's house to meet her and get the baby clothes. So at the house was Clarissa, Desiree, and Desiree's boyfriend. So they were all hanging out in the basement. I guess that's probably where the boxes were for the baby's clothes. However, Desiree's boyfriend does say that Desiree and Clarissa were acting really weird. They were kind of being secretive and like whispering to each other. And then they would leave the basement to go to another room to talk privately and then come back and were acting a little weird. He says that Desiree was kind of like all shaky and fidgety, and he was like, oh my gosh, they better not be planning to kill this girl right here because I'm not trying to be a part of that. I'm gonna call the police. So he told Desiree again, like, hey, if you do something, I'm gonna call the police. And that's when Desiree again said, oh, it's just a joke. It's April Fool's joke. Nothing's gonna happen. And then Marlene and Clarissa proceeded to exchange the clothes, and Marlene ended up leaving the home, and that was that. So now that Marlene had met Clarissa, she had seen her home, you know, met her daughter, you know, got the baby clothes and everything went fine. Obviously, she felt a sense of trust with Clarissa. Like, you wouldn't think anything too crazy if you're going to meet another mother who's just trying to get rid of old baby clothes. I feel like your first instinct isn't to be like, should I trust her? Is she sketchy? What's going on? So Marlene started to feel more comfortable with Clarissa. So the first time Marlene had gone to Clarissa's house, she had gotten some baby clothes and she also had gotten some strollers and I believe some like other things for the baby, but she wanted to see if Clarissa had some more clothes, and Clarissa told her, yeah, I have more clothes, why don't you come back over and I'll give you some more stuff. So Tuesday, April 23rd, 2019 rolls around and it's just like any other day. Marlene gets out of school and she has plans to pick up her son from daycare later that day. But before she was going to go pick up Joshua from daycare, she wanted to stop by Clarissa's house to get some more baby clothes. So Marlene leaves her school and starts driving to Clarissa's house, which isn't too far from her house. I believe it was only like 4 or 6 miles away from Marlene's house. So Marlene arrives to Clarissa's house, and unfortunately that is the last time Marlene is ever seen alive. So the day goes on and Giovanni gets a call from Joshua's daycare and they tell him that Marlene never showed up to pick up Joshua and that he was still at the daycare. And Giovanni was like, what the heck, that's so weird. Like, she would have told me if she couldn't make it to the daycare, or she would have, let somebody know like, hey, can you go pick up Joshua? I can't make it, or I'm running behind. So he thought it was really weird that she just didn't pick up their son and didn't tell anyone she wasn't going to make it. So then Giovanni calls Marlene's parents and family and asks if they have heard from her, and they're like, no, we haven't talked to her all day long. And that's when the family begins to get really worried. So at first her family thought that maybe she had gone into labor early or something had happened where she had to go to the hospital and was unable to contact anybody because she was, going through something, so she didn't have her phone on her. So they began to call hospitals around the area asking if anyone had seen her or if anyone had had a pregnant teenager check in, but they weren't able to locate her at any of the hospitals nearby. So then they started thinking, okay, maybe she was kidnapped, maybe something crazy happened, maybe she ran away. At one point they thought that Giovanni had done something to her because they were having some problems in the relationship, which is actually really sad because I was watching some interviews with Giovanni and he says that it broke his heart to know that his suegros thought that he would be capable of doing something like this. In the interviews, he's like, I just don't understand why anyone would think I would do something horrible to my pregnant wife. Well, why would I ever do something like that? And it is kind of crazy how when there are stories like this, our first conclusion is always, the husband did it. He's involved. Which I get, because in most scenarios, it usually is the husband or usually is someone that's close to the family. Thankfully, Giovanni was not involved, and I'm sure him and the family have a good relationship now. So that same day, Giovanni goes to the police department and reports Marlene as missing, and they don't really pay attention to him. They're kind of just like, give it 24 hours and see if she appears. Which I'm kind of like, that doesn't really make sense. She's pregnant. Why aren't you more concerned about this? Why should we wait 24 hours for a young pregnant female to appear when out of nowhere she just disappeared and didn't pick up her son? So then Giovanni goes back the next day, Wednesday, April 24th, and reports Marlene missing. And this is when the police take it a little bit more seriously. They do file her as a missing person and begin investigating. And Marlene's family gets a little frustrated with the pace of the investigation. They're kind of just like, I feel like you guys aren't doing the most that you could. So they end up hiring a private investigator that spoke Spanish and was going to work for them for 36 hours straight. So this private investigator went through Marlene's social media, and he was the one that noticed that Marlene had been speaking to Clarissa about getting some baby clothes and that they had plans to meet the day she went missing, and that was the last person that could have possibly seen Marlene. So he gathers all this information, gives it to the Chicago police, and they kind of ignore it. They don't really do anything about it. They're kind of just like, oh, okay, we'll look into it. But they really don't, which I just think is crazy. I'm like, okay, if you see this pregnant female is missing and the last person that she spoke to and might have seen is this woman Clarissa, why wouldn't you investigate her right away? You know what I mean? So on May 14th, 2019, 3 weeks after Marlene was reported missing, police find the body of Marlen Ochoa in a garbage bin outside of Clarissa's home. And it's just absolutely horrendous to see. Horrible, you guys. Very gruesome and graphic. So I'm just gonna put a little warning out here that what I'm gonna say is graphic. So if you guys don't want to hear this, I'll have a little timestamp here of where you can fast forward when we're done talking about these details. So let's go back to April 23rd, 2019, 3 weeks earlier. So like I mentioned earlier, Marlen Ochoa had plans to go to Clarissa's house after school to pick up some new baby clothes. I think this was either her second or third time already being at Clarissa's house, so she felt comfortable. So Marlene enters the house and she takes a seat in the couch in the living room while Clarissa and Desiree go to the kitchen to grab the baby clothes. So while Marlene is waiting in the living room, Desiree and Clarissa are in the kitchen looking for the baby clothes, but in reality, they're actually talking about their plan on how to kill Marlene. So Clarissa tells Desiree that she plans on strangling Marlene, making her pass out, and then once she's dead, they're gonna cut the baby out with a butcher knife and her and her boyfriend are going to raise the baby as their own. And Desiree agrees to this plan. Like, I'm very confused. I don't understand what is wrong with these people. So they leave the kitchen. They go back out to the living room where Marlene is sitting on the couch waiting. So then Desiree tries to distract Marlene by taking out a photo album that has some photos of her brother Xander, and she's kind of like flipping through the photo album, showing her family pictures, and Marlene's back is turned towards the kitchen. So that's when Clarissa comes up behind Marlene, takes a cable and wraps it around Marlene's neck and begins to strangle her. And Marlene is fighting for her life, you guys. She was a fighter till the end, so pobrecita. I can even imagine what she was thinking in those last moments, but Marlene was fighting for her life. So Marlene put her fingers between the cable and her neck and was trying to grab the cable to pull it off of her, and that's when Clarissa yelled at Desiree and was like, "You're not doing your effing job, you know, come help out." So then that's when Desiree comes over and begins to take Marlene's fingers one by one off of the cable so that, you know, she can't fight back. So she continues to strangle Marlene for around 4 to 5 minutes. They even fall to the ground, and Clarissa gets on top of Marlene and continues to strangle her. Marlene was still fighting as hard as she could, but she just couldn't fight anymore. So she looked over at the family dog that was there and she petted his nose, and then she urinated on herself, and then she passed away. That's when Clarissa told Desiree that Marlene was 100% dead, because she had apparently done her homework before this and researched, you know, how do you know if a person's dead after you strangle them? And apparently Google told her that once they urinate on themselves, that means that they're officially dead. So Desiree leaves to go get the butcher knife, the blanket, and the plastic bag, and then when they come back, like I said, this is graphic and extremely disturbing, so putting a warning. This is when Clarissa takes the butcher knife and cuts Marlene's abdomen and takes out her baby. She took out Marlene's placenta, the umbilical cord, and her baby and placed them in a bucket. Then they wrapped Marlene up in a blanket, put her inside of the plastic garbage bag, and placed her body in their garbage bin in their backyard. So as soon as they put Marlene's body in the garbage bin in the backyard, Clarissa calls 911 and she tells them that she just gave birth to a baby and that her baby was not breathing and she needed medical assistance. So an ambulance arrives to Clarissa's home and they see her standing outside, and they said that the baby was completely blue. I mean, it just looked like he was not alive whatsoever. So they take the baby and they take Clarissa and rush them to the hospital. So Clarissa and the baby were taken to Christie Hospital, and the baby was in serious critical condition. So they put the baby in the NICU, and he had really severe brain damage, and I believe at this point he was on life support. And then they took Clarissa to another room to examine her and make sure that she was okay. So when Clarissa arrived to the hospital, she had blood on her arms, she had blood on her chest, you know, all over her. And at first the hospital staff thought that it was, you know, just her blood because she had just given birth in a house, you know, without equipment, without people helping her, so she was obviously going to look a little messy and bloody afterwards. So then they further examined Clarissa and realized that her body just didn't look like someone that had just given birth or was even pregnant at all. So they helped clean off the blood from her arms, from her chest, all that stuff. They checked her and they said she was good to go, and they let her go be in the NICU with the baby. So Clarissa is in the NICU with the baby. She even names the baby Xander. Absolutely disgusting. And you guys, this freaking lady is posing in the hospital with Marlene's baby, posing with the baby, you know, acting all sad, you know, putting on Facebook like, "Send prayers, please, like my baby needs help." She even created a GoFundMe to pay for the hospital bills. People actually donated to it. I don't know what happened to that money, but I think they had like around $10,000 donated. Her boyfriend at the time, which I forget his first name, but I know his last name is Bodak. He was 40 years old. He was also posting on his own Facebook with the GoFundMe and saying, you know, "Help my son out. He needs, you know, these bills paid." Like, they were both just completely delusional. So while Clarissa is in the hospital with Marlene's baby, you know, doing this whole facade, this whole lie, Desiree is back home trying to get rid of Marlene's car, her phone, you know, get rid of evidence and just kind of clean up the scene. So Desiree drives Marlene's car to her own sister's house and also gets rid of her phone by, I think, just throwing it out the window. There is surveillance footage showing Desiree driving Marlene's car, so she was caught red-handed. And then Marlene's cell phone also last pinged at Clarissa's house. So while Clarissa's at the hospital, you know, making this lie up and living in this fantasy world, and Desiree is trying to get rid of evidence, Marlene's family and the police are still trying to investigate and figure out what happened to Marlene. So like I mentioned earlier, the private investigator had told police that Marlene was in this Facebook group and was talking to this other mother named Clarissa, and at the time the police didn't really take it seriously. They didn't really investigate or follow up or anything like that. It wasn't until one of Marlene's friends went to the police station and showed them the Facebook page, showed them the Facebook messages between Marlene and Clarissa. That's when police decided to go to Clarissa's home and talk to them. So when police arrived to Clarissa's home, they knocked on the door and they were received by Desiree. And they asked Desiree, oh, like, have you seen this girl, Marlen Ochoa? Where's your mother? They were just questioning her, and Desiree was like, you know what, my mom's actually not here. She's at the hospital because she just gave birth to a baby, so she's not here, but we don't know who this girl Marlene is. So police are kind of just like, like, we have a missing pregnant teen that was last seen here, and your mother, who is 46, is at the hospital because she just gave birth. Like, it didn't really make sense to them. So police grab a DNA sample from Giovanni, and they grab a DNA from the baby that's in the NICU, and they test it to see if they are a match and if this is in fact Marlene's baby. So the DNA comes back and it does show that that baby does have the same DNA as Marlene and as Giovanni, and that this is Marlene's baby that Clarissa was just passing off as her own for weeks, you guys. At this point, it was like 3 or 4 weeks that Clarissa was acting as this baby's mom. I cannot even imagine how Marlene's family felt when they found out that their daughter's baby was just living in another completely different world and reality, and that this woman was claiming to be his mom. Like, it's so messed up. So now we're caught up to May 14th, 2019, when police conducted a search warrant at Clarissa's home. When police showed up, they saw Clarissa's boyfriend, Bodak, in the yard, bleaching a rug and kind of like cleaning it off. And when police showed up, Bodak was like, oh God, like, we're caught. We're done. Like, they're seeing me bleach a carpet right now because I'm cleaning it. So he dropped the rug, went back inside, and the police began to investigate the house and conduct their search warrant. So while they were conducting the search warrant, they did find specks of blood throughout the house. So they went to the backyard, and that's where they found the garbage bin that had Marlene's body inside. Marlene still had the cord wrapped around her neck, and she was just stuffed in this plastic bag, thrown away like garbage. Absolutely disgusting, you guys. So sad and heartbreaking. So the police go and they notify Marlene's family and say that they have found her and that they can't 100% confirm if it's her. Obviously you need to have a family member confirm it in person, but that it's most likely her and that she's not alive. I mean, they were completely crushed and just so upset that it took almost 4 weeks for them to find their daughter's body. If the police had just listened to them the first time they told them about Clarissa and about these Facebook messages and had gone to Clarissa's house, they would have found the body way sooner. The family could have had some peace of mind and, buried their daughter sooner. And they also would have found out that their grandchild was already at a hospital and was alive and in critical condition. Clarissa wouldn't have gotten away with it for, as many weeks as she did. So anyways, the police arrest Clarissa, they arrest Desiree, and they also arrest Clarissa's boyfriend Bodak because he was tampering with evidence, and Desiree confesses to everything. So while Clarissa and them were getting charged and, dealing with the police, Marlene's family and Giovanni were putting their attention towards Marlene's baby, trying to be there for the baby because he was in very serious critical condition. He didn't have any brain activity and he was on life support, so the family was just there every single day in the hospital praying for him to survive this, asking the public to send their prayers. So they ended up naming the baby Giovanni Javier. Unfortunately, on June 14th, 2019, Giovanni and Marlene's family made the decision to take the baby off life support and he passed away. Of course, the family was completely heartbroken. They really thought that Giovanni was going to pull through and that they were going to get to raise this baby and have him have a great life despite what he went through, and it's just so unfortunate that he didn't pull through. So on June 26, 2019, Clarissa, Desiree, and Bodak are all charged and booked in jail. So Clarissa and Desiree are charged with first-degree murder, aggravated kidnapping, dismembering a human body, and concealing a homicidal death. And then Bodak is charged with tampering with evidence, and all three of them pleaded not guilty. So this happened towards the end of 2019, and they still have not had a trial because COVID happened, so They were kind of put on the back burner, and they've just been having like little court hearings here and there, but they haven't started the official trial yet. I was watching an interview with Marlene's mom and dad, which I'll have linked down below. It's in Spanish, so I'm not sure if they have English subtitles that you can see. Damn, that interview, you guys, completely broke me. I was crying all last night when I was watching it. At one point, the interviewer asked Marlene's mom, Raquel, like, you know, what type of punishment do you want for these girls that committed this crime? You know, what do you want to see the courts do? And she was like, you know what, I wouldn't want them to have the death penalty because I want them to suffer in jail for the rest of their lives. I don't want them to just, you know, have the death penalty and be done with it and that's that. She wants them to sit in there, you know, to rot, to have all of their rights and freedom taken away from them, because that's what they did to Marlene. The family does have a GoFundMe. I'm not sure if it's still active or if it's not. I'll investigate that, and if it is, I'll have it linked down below. Marlene's family says that that money is not for them. It's not for funeral expenses. It's nothing for personal use. It's all for their grandchildren. And this is the part that made me cry. Like, damn. She's like, you know what? Marlene was working so hard to make sure that her kids had a great future, had everything that they needed. She was going to go to college to make sure she had a good career for them. So she wants to make sure that her grandkids are taken care of, that they don't have to struggle, because they're already going to be dealing with the loss of their mother and growing up without her. So she doesn't want her grandkids to ever have to worry about money. Like I said, if the GoFundMe is still open and it's active, I'll have it linked down below. So the family did start a memorial project in honor of Marlene and of Giovanni. It's called the Marlen and Jadiel Lopez Project. So 3 times a year, they volunteer at a church to give out free diapers and other necessities that pregnant women may need. And this way, pregnant women have a safe place where they can come to get free items, to get support, to get things that they need for their baby, and hopefully something like this won't happen again. So Marlene's family is also trying to pass a law called Marlene's Law, which would require DNA testing for anyone that enters a hospital claiming to have a newborn. Hopefully this law does get passed. If there are any petitions or any more information about this law, I'll link it down below so you guys can check it out, but I do think it's a great thing that the family is trying to pass this to make sure that things like this don't happen in the future and it's caught earlier. So that's pretty much all the information I have on this case, you guys. It's sad that they haven't had a trial yet and they haven't received their punishment, but hopefully it'll be coming soon. So yeah, it's a really heartbreaking case. It makes me so angry that there's people in this world sick enough to do something like this. Like, I don't know what was going through their brain, thinking that they would get away with this and thinking that this was okay and that, you know, they could just take someone else's baby and claim it as their own and move on with life and raise him. I don't understand how that logic is there. Please just be careful out there, you guys. Don't go anywhere by yourself. Even if you think this is a nice person, if she looks like a loving mother and she looks like she has a million kids and is a super sweet person, please don't ever be too trusting, and always go somewhere with another person. Never go somewhere by yourself or to someone's house, because things like this do happen. This is just absolutely heartbreaking. I mean, Marlene was just trying to get clothes for her baby, and this is what ends up happening. Please, all my mamas out there and everyone out there, please just stay safe and never be too trusting. My thoughts and prayers go out to Marlene's family. I am so sorry you guys had to go through something this horrendous. I hope Marlene's Law does get passed and that her memorial project continues to grow and you guys continue to help other pregnant women have a safe and comfortable place to go get necessities for their babies without worrying something like this might happen. My thoughts and prayers go out to Marlene's family. I hope her parents are doing okay. I hope her son Joshua is okay. I hope Giovanni is okay as well, and everyone can just find some type of peace and closure soon. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on this case down below, and if you guys have any other cases you guys would want me to cover in the future, also let me know in the comments down below so I can add it to my list. Sorry, the dogs are barking. They always love to bark right when I film. Like, they're quiet all day, and then I start to film and they start to bark. So, sorry about that. But yeah, anyways, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Make sure to subscribe before you guys leave, por favor, so you guys can join the familia and you won't miss out on future videos of mine. Also, please don't forget to vote for my Ipsy video. It would mean so much to me if I could make it to round 3. All the information for voting on my Ipsy video will be linked down below. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys!